So now we want to take a look at adding the content for our photos, and I'll just go back to Bob's profile because I know Bob has several photos. And let's go back to VS Code and create the component we need for this. And inside Explorer, I'm just going to tidy up the tabs again. And inside the Client app, inside the Source and Features and Profiles, I'll just create a new file and I'll call this one profile photos.tsx. And we'll just add a normal functional component. And what we want to return from this is we're going to create a tab pane. And if I just go back to the profile contents just to describe what we're doing here, I'm basically going to create a component that's going to replace the tab pane inside here. So inside the profile photos, I'll add a tab and bring this in from semantic UI. And this is going to be a tab pane, so I'll make it not a self-closing element, but I'll add the closing element as well. And inside here, I'm just going to add a header and bring this in from semantic UI. And we'll give this header an icon, which is going to be an icon of image, and the content of the header will be photos. And what we'll do is we'll display the photos in cards, semantic UI cards. So I'll bring in card from semantic UI, and this is going to be a card group. And we'll set the items per row equal to 5. And what we then want to do is loop over our images, which means we're going to need to bring our profile into this as well. And what we'll do, rather than trying to pass this down as a property, is we'll bring in our store directly into the profile photos. So what I'll do is I'll say const root store equals use context, and we'll bring in the root store context, and then I'll destructure what we need from the profile store. So I'll say root store.profile store, and what we need for now is just the profile. So, and what we'll do is we'll loop over the photos collection inside the profile. So we'll say profile.photos .map, and then we'll pass in the photo, and this should be a lowercase p, and profile could well be null. So before we loop over this, we want to check that we have a profile. So we'll use the double ampersand so that we only execute this if we have this. And then what we'll do is we'll add a card, and the key of this card will be equal to the photo.id. And inside the card we'll use an image, and we'll bring this in from semantic UI. And we'll set the source of the image equal to the photo.url. And I'll just reformat things inside here. And then what we can do is replace the tab pane inside our profile content page with the one we've just created. So in the Photos tab, instead of that, what I'll use is Profile Photos instead, and make sure this has been brought in successfully, and then we can go see how this looks. And I'm getting an error here which, well, it doesn't make sense, but let's just see if I've genuinely got any errors anywhere, and it certainly doesn't seem that way. Sometimes TypeScript gets stuck, and I believe this is one of those occasions, because if we compare what it's complaining about with what we see inside our code, then this is just going to need a restart. So let's restart our application. And our application is working fine, so let's click on the photos and we can see our images inside here. Now, I've got a not square photo, and that's messed up the styling for my other photos inside here. And it looks like I've also got 3 of exactly the same photo as well. So what I want to do is just delete this photo, but I don't have a way to do this from my client at the moment, so I'm just going to inspect and see what the ID of this photo is, and this is one that starts with GG6TJ. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to Postman and go and get my profile for Bob. And for this particular image, it's not my main photo anyway inside here, so I'm just going to delete this particular photo and make sure the token is set to Bob and click on send. And that's gone. And if I go back to my client and refresh, I should find that I'm now down to 2 square images. And that's better. They're still the same image, but I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. We'll be adding various images later on. I just don't want to mess around with styling with different aspect ratios of images. So what we're going to do is allow the users to add new photos and use this same pane to either set their main photo or delete a photo. But because this is going to be the same profile page for all of the users, including the ones that we look at of other users' profiles, what we want is a way to find out if the page we're looking at or the user we're looking at is the currently logged on user. And if it is, then we'll give them options to either add a photo or do something with their current list of photos. And we'll take a look at that next.